So, what is a man? A miserable pile of secrets. I'm Micah Curtis.
How about you? I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as The Hatman.
Welcome to Micah and The Hatman, and we got a lot of vampires to talk about this week. All right. So oddly enough, though, I won't be starting because we always let Hatman lead off with his pick of the week. But we will be talking about Castlevania, and we'll be talking about my love of the series, obviously, because I'm such a huge fan. But Hatman, what was your pick of the week? Tell us about it.
Hatman's pick is John Carpenter's Halloween, the original one, because I didn't get to see the remake. At least I haven't yet. I'm going to go see it tonight. It's not even really a remake; it's a sequel, but it's the third movie that's been called Halloween in the series. This Halloween. Anyway, enough about being chronologically confused. Wow, this movie. So I have not seen the first Halloween in a long fucking time. Growing up, Halloween was always on whatever TVs were on during the Halloween season. But usually it was like 2, 4, and 5. So I saw them a lot. And I still think 2 is better than the first. It's probably the best of the series of what I've seen, of course. But the first is like classic fucking John Carpenter. Slow build, and then like it's action non-fucking stop, basically. Oh, yeah. Like
he is a master of pacing.
Yes, a master of tension too. Like this Escape from New York, The Thing, like just absolutely brilliant. And that music too. Like I still cannot get over the fact that John Carpenter himself is responsible for all the fucking music in his movies. And it's always so good. And Halloween, I think, is probably his best fucking soundtrack.
Yeah, the Halloween might have the best like theme of any horror movie ever.
Oh, beyond that, like even the whenever Michael Myers appears, that little stinger.
Yeah.
That's like that's perfect. Absolutely perfect. You know, the casual little soft piano when he's stalking around. Perfect. And obviously, you know, the Halloween theme itself is wonderful. But no, it's absolutely brilliant. And this movie sort of it's weird because for something that inspired the slasher genre, it's really slow and methodical, almost like the first Alien movie. And you wouldn't think like this would be like the start of the slasher craze, given how really like over the top the kill count is in your average slasher film. You know, how fast paced it usually is, how horrifying. Well, not really horrifying, but like tension is always really high. But this is like a slow burn. Like, you really don't start seeing the proper slasher notes until like the last act of the movie. It's really something. Like looking back on it with a sort of modern frame of reference. Mr. Monkeyland is absolutely right. You know, pacing, storytelling, character development, soundtrack design. Where are the cheap jump scares, plot holes, and obnoxious teens to kill? Yeah, like it's not your average slasher movie. I mean, the kill count in this is like what, 3 people?
6, I think.
Is it 6?
I want to say it's something like 6. I think. Because he kills his sister.
Yes.
Doesn't he kill 2 different couples, or is it just one?
He kills one. I think he kills just one couple. It's the dude that he knifes to the wall.
Yeah.
And then the girl that he was fucking earlier.
Oh yeah. You're right. It is only 3 people.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's really not that big of it. Well, nope. That girl in the car.
Yes.
The girl in the car. So
And
it's
who
four.
does he strangle with the phone cord?
That was the girlfriend of the dude he
That's
knifed.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Is it 5?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not a big kill count.
No.
It's not huge at all. Like it's you would think like, oh my god, there'd be like blood and guts flying everywhere. No, it's not.
Hell no, man.
No. But it's still good. Like a horror movie, I don't know if I could really like classify it as a horror movie. I think it's more of like a thriller than anything else. And I know that's kind of like a cheap way to say
It's a suspense film.
Or yeah, it's suspense. That's basically it. It still holds up though.
Oh yeah.
It still holds up, I think. Maybe not to like younger folks, to people who are, who grew up on movie or not even movies, like franchises like Saw and shit.
Yeah.
Which I don't even consider Saw to be like a real horror movie.
Not since the first one.
No. But it's still good. It still holds up. So if you have not seen this, I mean, 'tis the season, man. 'Tis the season.
Amen to that. Speaking of seasons, 'tis the season. I couldn't think of a more appropriate series to be on Netflix in late October than Castlevania. And I had completely forgotten that this was coming out this year. For some reason, I had thought that it was like early 2019 that the next season of Castlevania was coming out. Nope. So we talked about the first season, last year on the podcast. It was just a 4-episode miniseries that basically set up the world of Castlevania, and was probably the best like 4-episode anything I had seen in a long time. Like, it was ridiculously well done. The casting, of course, is phenomenal voice-wise. And the second season picks up where we had left off. So, for those who don't remember, the first season of Castlevania left off with Trevor and Sypha discovering the tomb of Alucard, who gets into probably one of the most well-animated sword fights I've ever seen.
Can we just talk about how good the animation, how fluid it was?
And it stays there in season 2.
So good.
Yeah. Now, and basically what the second season is about is it focuses more on Dracula and his court than it does really the characters, the 3 protagonists of Castlevania, which kind of surprised me. But there wasn't a whole lot for Trevor and Alucard and Sypha to do. Their goals are pretty simple. A, find the Belmont Hold, which gives them the means of defeating Dracula, and then go kill Dracula. So what was interesting is they really set up a lot of the stuff that actually came about in the video game Curse of Darkness, including the Flesh Forgers, whose names are escaping me at the moment. Let me bring it up real quick.
So, quick question. Is Grant in this?
No.
Damn!
Grant does not show up, and I was actually kind of disappointed in that. At all. Because this game, for better or worse, is about the events of Castlevania 3. Did I say game? I meant this series. Like, the first 2 seasons are Castlevania 3. From the beginning to end. And it definitely is a very character-driven season. Very character-driven. Like, again, a lot of focus on Dracula, who is played by Graham McTavish, and he still knocks it out of the park as Dracula. It is probably... I considered... I can't remember who it was who played Gabriel Belmont / Dracula in Lords of Shadow. His name escapes me. But he did a phenomenal job of it. And Graham McTavish is even better, which is saying something.
Hector and Isaac are the Forge Masters.
Yes, Hector and Isaac, that's it. And
the adopted sons of Dracula.
Yes, and they are... their characters are very intriguing, and they're a big focus on this, because it's basically... a lot of what it's doing is getting into the mind of Dracula, and how, pray tell, he plans on genociding an entire species, and why. why he would do this and where his mind is and how broken of a man he is after what happened after losing his wife. And it's honestly a very sad story. Very sad. But there's really good action and really good, character moments.
It's a proper tragedy, basically.
Pretty much. And that's one thing I had found interesting is, in Castlevania, Dracula is not seen as a tragic figure, really, until Symphony of the Night, where you find out why he is the way he is, and you see what happened to Alucard's mother, and that she was burned at the stake. Like, that, I think, is when the reveal was.
Yeah.
And
that flashback.
Yeah, that oof. Terribly voice acted, but still powerful stuff.
Well,
the whole game, it's
early PS1 stuff.
Yeah, it's the dark ages of voice acting. So there's only so much you can do. But with this, it really focuses on what that would do, and it really is a just this sad freaking story with the vampires. And they bring in the character of Carmilla, who I don't think was in the original series, but was one of the main characters of Lords of Shadow. And it brings her in as an antagonist. And she is incredibly compelling. She's kind of she's almost Disney villain-esque in a lot of ways, but considerably more violent. On top of that, there's also different elements to this that I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the sort of quasi-friendly rivalry between Trevor and Alucard, of who really is the hero here. I like how they develop the relationship between Sypha and Trevor as well, because anybody who's played Castlevania can tell you that these are the grandparents of Simon, who is the greatest Belmont to ever live. In any Castlevania universe, Simon is the best vampire hunter ever. Like, it doesn't even, like, Richter doesn't even touch him, and that's saying something, because Richter was really good too. So, God, it is a wonderful series. A wonderful series. Yeah, I'm just bummed out as the fact that Grant's not in it at all. Maybe he'll show up in season 3, but this is, for better or worse, classic Warren Ellis writing. And for those who don't know, my hero, for better or worse, is a writer. Warren Ellis is the guy who wrote this. And it really is a Warren Ellis thing down to the wool. And, yeah. Yeah. Also, one thing about Simon being the best, he's the only one who can whip in 8 directions. Don't even start with me on the others.
He can moonwalk.
He can moonwalk too. Well, Richter could do that too. But the only one who had multi-directional whipping was Gabriel in Lords of Shadow. So no, there was another guy, whoever it is that's the protagonist in Aria of Sorrow, the one that's kind of the origin story. Also, we're apparently getting lag. We're just gonna push through it. Yeah. It happens. So anyway,
any Castlevania games that we would recommend playing? Ooh.
The original trilogy, easily.
Yeah, obviously. Well, at least 1 and 3.
Well, two if you have a guide with you.
2 if you've got the redone version. Like, you'd have to play that on an emulator, because there's a fix basically to it.
Yeah. But if you want the first game with better graphics and better gameplay, play 4. Because 4 is a remake of 1.
Yes.
And
Symphony of the Night, obviously.
Symphony is a classic for so many reasons. And then, for me, Lords of Shadow. Yeah. Those games, all 3 of them. There's Lords of Shadow, Mirror of Fate. Oddly enough, the mirrors are in this series, too, from Lords of Shadow. And then Lords of Shadow 2. So
I can't recommend Rondo of Blood.
I've never,
unless you're playing like the version that I think was like remastered for PSP or something.
Yeah, I plan on getting the collection of the 2 when it comes out for PS4. But I've always wanted to play Rondo. I've never played Rondo.
Damn.
I've only played Dracula X, the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah, that was actually shitty.
And oddly enough, I managed to beat it.
Holy shit, that's an achievement.
Dude, like, Super Nintendo Micah was a fucking thing. Like, I beat all the hard games. I made Mega Man X, like, I could have sped run it back in the day.
Oh, yeah, Mega Man X is...
Not that difficult, but it, you know, it was, oh, Mega Man X is so good. In my opinion, it's the best game on the Super Nintendo.
What was the one on Sega Genesis? The one...
Bloodlines.
I recommend it.
Bloodlines.
Yes,
Bloodlines is fucking great, too.
Yes, I recommend it for gameplay, for being Castlevania. If you give a fuck about story, skip it, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of there to kind of bridge the Bram Stoker novel into Castlevania.
Yeah.
And which is kind of interesting, but the problem is that in Castlevania, Dracula has been around a lot longer than the 1800s.
Yeah.
You know, like, they actually, like, the original Belmont went after Vlad Tepes himself when he was known still as Vlad Tepes. That's how that relationship started. So, yeah. But what I am hoping for is that they continue to do this series and that they continue... It looks like the next one is going to go over the events of... the next season will be the events of Curse of Darkness with Carmilla thrown in as the antagonist. And then after that, I imagine they're going to, you know, move away from Trevor and Sypha, and then they'll probably do Simon, I would think. Because Simon is next in the timeline, if I remember right. It goes Simon, and then he has a child who does not face Dracula, and then Richter is after him, if I remember right.
I think so.
So
right.
It's been a while. Though, so yeah, like, so just to run through recommendations, 1, 2, and 3, don't do the second one without a guide. 4, in my opinion, is the best of them all. Though some people, like, for most Castlevania fans of the old days, you're either a purist when it comes to Symphony, or you're a purist when it comes to 4. I'm a purist when it comes to 4, because Simon's my favorite Belmont. But Symphony is still a classic. Everyone tells me to play the original Rondo of Blood, the Japanese version.
Or the PSP remake.
Or the PSP
whatever
remake.
It was.
Yeah, there's that too. And then Hatman and I both recommend Lords of Shadow. I recommend the entire Lords of Shadow trilogy. So, and then oddly enough, though, if you don't mind grindy stuff, the one with the Flesh Forgers is actually an interesting enough game. So, like, Curse of Darkness is interesting enough. And then, what's the HD one? Harmony of Despair?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that one's a fun, like, arcadey Castlevania experience. You can play with multiple people. You can get it on the Xbox 360. It's still on the store, if I remember right. It's a lot of fun, and the soundtrack is great. And you can play as 8-bit Simon Belmont. So,
Lords of Shadow soundtrack is fucking phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, and one final answer, because we do need to move on to our next topic, because we're almost a half hour in, or we're past 20 minutes in. There is some classic Castlevania music used in this. It's Bloody Tears, and when you hear it, it's incredible. You're like, oh god, it has hit the fan. This is Castlevania. Bring it on. Okay. So,
Micah, you're in Red Dead 2? What?
Yeah, there's a character named Micah in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, crap. Well...
And he's a dick.
You better get blown up.
Anytime I appear in everything, I get blown up. Like, and what's bugging the fuck out of me is I've talked to Chuck Dixon, I've talked to Timothy Lim, I've talked to Brett Smith. They won't tell me what happens to me in Trump's Space Force, and I didn't have enough money to back it. So somebody who got it is going to have to tell me what happens to me. Please. I got blown up in My Hero Macadamia. I need to know what happens. I'm going to become the Porkins of Timothy Lim's books. Like, it's ridiculous.
Oh, God. That might have killed me. It might have killed me. He's going to become the fucking Jack Porkins.
Aiden gets a fucking mech. I get blown to bits. Like, what the fuck? Actually, no. Apparently, I did survive the explosion in My Hero Macadamia. We'll see what happens in Trump's Space Force. Anyway, let's move. And yeah, for those of you who once Trump's Space Force comes out, please do support our friends Chuck and Brett and Tim. I'm really looking forward to reading that book when I get to it.
Yeah.
So, I love Chuck to death. I love Tim to death. Brett's an awesome guy too. So getting to know him lately has been really cool. So anyway, stay on target. So GOG.com apparently stepped in it.
Yeah.
One thing I was embarrassed to see, it seems like everybody I knew at Channel Awesome has become shitheads, is pushing up roses. Sarah, being somebody who I really liked as a person, like chastised GOG.com and said that she would never buy anything from them when she's never bought anything from them in the first place. Or at least not on her public profile, unless she has a secondary one. I don't remember. But anyway, Hatman, tell me about what happened, because I didn't even catch all of it.
So a bit of background before this. This is not the first time that GOG has stepped in it. They tweeted out to advertise their sale of Postal 2, a GIF of shut up, pissing on the grave of games journalism, which died in 2014. Obvious Gamergate joke.
Yes.
People said, "Oh, you're dog whistling to Gamergate," and of course they issued an apology and said, "No, we were trying to sell the fucking game. This is not what we intended."
Gamergate's not even a thing now.
It's not even a fucking thing anymore. It's pretty much fucking dead. It is the perpetual boogeyman of fucking social justice motherfuckers that don't know how else to describe people that they don't like. That's it. It's a fucking boogeyman. But anyway, so this time they used the "won't be erased" hashtag, which was in response to Trump supposedly legislating trans people out of existence.
Which is impossible.
Yeah. So they said something like, this sale won't be erased, or, these games won't be erased, some nonsense like that. Not talking about any sort of LGBT things. And people got pissed off and said, "You're co-opting a hashtag. You're making light of this. This is a transphobic joke. How dare you say something like that?" Lost their fucking minds like usual.
Yeah. Despite the fact that most of the people getting outraged were neither trans or anything along those lines.
Yeah. What does GOG do? They fucking suck the dick of the SJWs and they apologize for it. But it's not good enough, because that was a non-apology, because they did not use the word sorry in their apology. And so somebody on their fucking PR team or social media team got doxxed, and
what?
It became a massive clusterfuck.
Hold on. Is what Ghost is saying here Reset Era doxed CD Projekt Red employee? Dude.
Yes.
Dude.
Yeah. You know what? We have not had an exterminatus in a while.
Execute Order 1776.
We have arrived, and it is now that we fulfill our charge. In fealty to the Lord our God, and by the grace of his throne, I declare exterminatus upon whatever scumbag we're declaring exterminatus on today. I hereby sign the death warrant of an entire wherever, and consign 1,000,000 souls, maybe, to oblivion. May imperial justice account in all balance. The Emperor protects. Deus vos, Deus vos, Deus vos, Deus
vos. Is it just me, or does it oftentimes after Jim Sterling loses his shit over something, somebody gets doxxed?
You're right. I never really put the pieces together until now.
His fan base is cancer, and he never does anything about it. Fuck you, Jim. You fat fuck.
The least he could do is put down the fork for a moment.
I am a chubby dude, and Jim Sterling makes me look thin. That's incredible. All right,
yeah, Reset Era, fucking
fuck them, fuck Jim Sterling, fuck every one of these regressive assholes. Let's move on. Let's move on to another prick.
Yeah, let's talk about fucking Mark Waid.
Mark Waid, still a prick. All right, next topic. No, I'm kidding. So we have not had the chance to talk about this yet. For those of you who don't know, mi amigo, Richard C. Meyer, also known as Diversity in Comics, is...
Also known as our boy Zach.
Our boy Zach is suing Mark Waid for tortious interference. Basically, what that means is that Mark Waid went out of his way to personally interfere with shutting down a business agreement that had been made between Zach and Antarctic Press, which of course would possibly create loss of revenue. Now, here's the thing, that judging by how much money the book made, that's not just money lost for Rich, it's also money lost for Antarctic too. And that hurts everybody. So Mark Waid is in trouble. Because,
to say the least,
he has a history of doing this. He has a history of bullying people. He has a history of being generally a prick.
Yeah, losing his fucking temper.
Yeah, he is known for having a bad temper. He is known for getting violent with people. He is known for having a long-standing rage problem that he's never addressed. And he screwed a black woman, I believe, and her husband out of screwed them over in a business deal for a comic shop once. He has had multiple jobs where he has been in an office environment and will just throw temper tantrums out of nowhere.
Yeah, his tantrums are legendary.
Where people have called the police on him. He's known for flying off the cuff. And from what I have heard from people on the inside, that, who know Mark and have known Mark for a long time, have said that the only reason he is at Marvel right now is because the only person who will put up with him is Axel Alonso, because they've been friends for a long time. I mean, not Axel Alonso, Tom Brevoort. Oh, Foxhelm donated another $10. Thank you, Foxhelm.
Thank you.
And what's the message on this one? I gotta refresh my Streamlabs thing real quick. Executor 1776 on Mark Waid. We'll get there. We'll get there.
We will.
We're not done with the topic yet. So Zach, of course, our boy has filed a lawsuit, and oddly enough, the lawyer for Mark Waid is named Mark Zaid. And this dude's an asshole. And I don't want to call him Mark Zaid anymore because it's really weird. He is now Creepy Waid Lawyer.
You're not going to call him Bizarro Mark Waid?
No, he is Creepy Waid Lawyer. Because he's creepy too. Have you seen this dude? He's fucking creepy looking.
Weird as shit looking.
Yeah, and the thing about Mark Zaid is that he must be the worst lawyer ever. Because he is constantly getting on Twitter and calling Comicsgate, and by extension, Richard, a racist, a white supremacist, and all these other things. It's like, dude, how is this building your case for the court? Because he can bring that to be evidence of not only tortious interference, but you engaging in the same sort of behavior. Because here's the thing. I've dealt with lawyers before. And the first thing they do is they tell you to shut the fuck up. And a lot of times when people lose cases, it is because they do not shut up. Now, I don't think that Mark has actually said much on Twitter lately. I think it's just been self-promotion stuff, which is what a smart person would be doing. But his lawyer is trying to get out there and virtue signal, and it's not going to work.
Wannabe Avenatti.
Yeah, he is trying to be Michael Avenatti, and Michael Avenatti just got kicked out of his law offices and is looking at federal prosecution.
Whoops.
Yeah. The government is about to have a literal execute order 1776 on Michael Avenatti. But this does not look good for Mark Waid. And I say that, here's the funny thing. I liked Mark Waid as a writer for a long time. he has written some of my favorite books. Kingdom Come, obviously, though I hear the outline of that was done by Alex Ross. It was Mark came in and touched the dialogue up and really made it a lot more, because Alex Ross is not a writer. So, but his Flash run, like, Wally West is as good of a character as he is because of Mark Waid. That's just, like, Mark Waid, in my opinion, has probably the second best ever Justice League run. He wrote Tower of Babel and several other arcs. I think he was after Grant Morrison. And he was really good as a Justice League writer. And then, again, his Flash, legendary. His Captain America run, the first run, legendary. He really interesting thing about his Captain America run is he really had his finger on the pulse of the time. You read it and it really is a statement of, like, American uncertainty in the 90s. It's a wonderfully well-written book and the art is great. But, again, second best Captain America writer ever, only to Ed Brubaker. That's saying something. Because there's been a lot of really good Cap writers. What's another good one that Mark did? Flash, Cap, Justice League. I'm forgetting something. I know I am. I already said Kingdom Come. Oh, gosh. I know I'm forgetting something. Oh, Fantastic Four.
Oh.
He's the second best Fantastic Four writer ever. Second only to Jonathan Hickman. So up until Jonathan Hickman's run, he was the best ever. I will stand by that statement. I will give Mark Waid credit because I'm big on complimenting people on their actual skills. But just being realistic about how they are as people. And I thought that, but at some point, I want to say it was after he did Irredeemable, which I've never read, but I've heard was really good. It seemed like something in him, he just gave up. He was just done. Now, our friend Aiden Paladin has met Mark, and she had told me that that's kind of when she talked to him, the vibe she got, because he was just done. He was kind of done with everything, and he had nothing left, and he was still doing this just for money. And that's unfortunate, because again, at his best, he was an incredibly talented guy. And I think that and I think that the political climate as well has not helped him. Sorry, I noticed I dropped something back here. I'm just bringing it back up to my desk. And he's just gone off the deep end. And I think that this is I think that the chickens are coming home to roost with this lawsuit. I don't think it looks good for him. Now, there could be something that I don't know, and maybe this doesn't go in my, because again, I'm biased here. Because DNC has given me really good advice. He has supported my work. Before I even knew who he was supporting me and what I do. And I owe him, because he has used his stage, which is bigger than my own, to speak highly of me. And I will always appreciate people who give me a shot. So I am biased here. And I do still think that Mark Waid's a prick. So take that with a grain of salt. But it doesn't look good, because from what we have evidence-wise, at least what we know, the public knows, Jawbreaker's picked up by Antarctic Press. Mark Waid makes a phone call. Jawbreaker's no longer on Antarctic Press. And then Mark deletes all of his social media. That looks fishy. It looked fishy then, it looks fishy now. So, I think that, and I'm hoping that somebody at Marvel has the sense to not just back Mark without thinking about it, and sits him down and says, Mark, you got a problem. You need help, man. Because I hate seeing talented people do this sort of shit. I really do. And I admire Mark's talent as a writer. He's one of those guys that I honestly wish could be more than what he is these days. Because he set a... he was on 52! as well. I completely forgot about that. And he did really well in that series, too, for DC. It's like you just look at his resume, and it's so good. Mark, what the fuck, man?
That's what happens when you drink the Kool-Aid.
It really is. So what happens if he loses the trial? I don't know, because he's trying to raise money right now, oddly enough, for the exact amount he's getting sued for. Probably to settle out of court.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the wise idea in Mark's case, because he fucked up. I just wish he could be the bigger man and say it, but he isn't.
Of course not. It's the ego behind it. Like,
Yeah.
that's basically what he's running on now, is the name Mark Waid.
Yeah.
You know, the reputation that is Mark Waid, and not, you know, what he is currently doing. It's what he did.
Yeah. So, as has been requested by one of our loyal Templars, which I think is what I'm going to start calling the fan base now, because I love the Black Templars in Warhammer. They're fucking awesome. We have to execute Order 1776 on the shell of Mark Waid.
We have arrived, and it is now that we fulfill our charge. In fealty to the Lord our God, and by the grace of his throne, I declare exterminatus upon whatever scumbag we're declaring exterminatus on today. I hereby sign the death warrant of an entire wherever, and consign 1,000,000 souls, maybe, to oblivion. May imperial justice account in all balance. The Emperor protects.
Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult, Deus vult.
Deus Vult.
Deus motherfucking Volt.
All right, real quick. We are gathered today to remember a character who was on television for over a decade. Everybody's favorite Indian store owner, Apu. Apu sadly must be laid to rest because you're not allowed to be funny and have a background that's kind of stereotypical. Not allowed anymore. Not in this day and age. No, no. He must be laid to rest because we must use his existence as a sacrifice to the altar of political correctness. And fuck the left. Seriously, Apu?
Yeah. So, I never really watched The Simpsons growing up. I still haven't really watched The Simpsons at all. So I have an outsider's perspective on this, but basically what I've gathered about Apu is nothing negative at all.
He's like the nicest guy on the show.
Yeah, except that he runs the fucking Quickie Mart, has a very thick accent, and he's pretty much a decent dude.
Like that's what I find interesting. I live in a town with a large Indian population.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I've met guys that are literally like him. It is a stereotype, sure, but it's not saying anything negative.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, from what I understand, most of the Simpsons characters are stereotypes.
Yeah, that's the point. Is this basically a parody of normal Midwestern life?
Yeah. I don't get, you know, Max G, Hot Diggity Demon, did I think it's like a 40 or 50 minute video basically breaking down all the points of the problem with Apu and just annihilated the whole fucking thing. Watch that. Like, if you have not seen that shit, watch that. Basically, every sort of charge that Apu is a racist caricature is just blown out the fucking window by that.
Well, here's my thing. Is like, it seems like this is an excuse. Because
Yeah.
I will say this. Most of the Indian folk I know, they are either store owners or they're doctors. Why is that? This goes to Thomas Sowell, who, in the book Black Rednecks, White Liberals, oddly enough, white liberals, the main people who are offended by this sort of stuff. The people themselves usually aren't offended. They'll find one guy who is and just put him on a fucking pedestal. But he says that there is this concept of the middleman minority, where people who are minorities come here to the United States. The first generation tend to work very hard so that the second generation will move into a job that is much more profitable for them. That's why so many of my doctors have been of, either Asian or Indian ancestry. And usually the doctors are second generation. First generation, usually the store owners. I worked for a guy whose last name is Patel. And the other guy I worked for, oddly enough, first generation Pakistani. What is he trying to get his son to be? A fucking doctor. This is just how existence is. Because here's the funny thing. The Irish did the same thing a long fucking time ago. And the Scots, my ancestors, when they came to America. The Germans, the Jews. Like, this isn't news. But because we parody that on a show, suddenly it's offensive. Fuck you.
Well, that's the thing, though. This is offense culture. It's outrage culture. I mean, you have to take offense to anything that isn't glowing praise of some group that's been underrepresented.
It's all of a sudden I'm suddenly offended by the Scotsman from Samurai Jack, eh? You fucking make fun of us Scots like we always want to fight. Well, I'll fight ya! I'll get my fucking claymore and fight ya! Don't make me get out the kilt! I'll cut you and drop my nuts on your chin! Alright?
You say we're fucking violent, mate.
You ain't seen violence yet!
Can't you? No shite! Oh God!
Yeah,
I can't do Scottish. I can't do Scottish.
I had to watch a lot of Braveheart to get it halfway decent, and even then it starts to bleed into my Irish accent.
But even then, like, fucking Apu is a harmful stereotype. Harmful how?
Harmful to portray people as nice. How dare they?
Okay,
he should be an asshole. Apu, don't you come into my fucking store. I'll take my broom, I'll take it upside your fucking head.
So, Almighty Lolly pointed out a great fucking quote from that video I mentioned earlier. Apu doesn't care that you laugh at his accent. Apu is fucking your wife.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, fucking everybody fucking likes the dude. Like, how is that a harmful fucking stereotype? He's a successful fucking business owner. Has there been, the Simpsons better than I do, obviously. Has there been anything fucking negative about Apu over the entirety of the fucking series?
No! Most of the butts of the jokes are about Homer. Because he's the punchline. He's a walking punchline. Apu is not. Like, it's about Homer's misadventures. Like, that's the... Jesus Christ. So it's okay for a fat guy, for a fat father, to eat so many donuts that he goes to hell to eat more donuts. That's perfectly fine. But how dare you portray an Indian guy as a store owner? Well, that's just...
With a thick accent. Like, how dare you say that somebody has an accent? Like, all right, now listen up here. I'm gonna go full motherfucking Southerner on y'all motherfuckers. How dare y'all say that our accents are offensive, are terrible fucking stereotypes? Fuck y'all. I ain't gonna have that in my fucking house, all right? You understand me?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
This was funny, though. Accents are fucking funny.
Yeah.
Accents are fucking funny. Fucking, I get a kick out of when people make fun of of fucking Southerners.
Do you really?
Yeah, the South shall rise again. Yeah, I love that shit. That's hilarious.
I'm guilty of it too. I mean, yeah. I've buried my accent over the years because now if you want to talk about the Bears, you know, you want to talk about the Bears or Dick or something along those lines. Well, yeah, we got the Chicagoan accent there too. And yeah,
that sounds more Canadian.
I know it's my voice, but order Minnesotans. You got a lot of people from Minnesota. Oh, I'm guessing Fargo ain't that big on the Minnesotans either. Oh no!
Somebody get Micah some fucking Tim Hortons. Somebody get him some Timbits.
Like seriously, it's crazy. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. Fuck yep. The people who actually post this. But you know what? Fuck Matt Groening for giving into him too.
Well, it's weird too because they had an episode where they called out the shit. They said something like, you know, what's wrong with something being perfectly fine years ago, but is suddenly politically incorrect now? Like, what the fuck is the deal with that?
You know what needs to happen? Now they need to put Apu on South Park.
Oh my fucking God.
They should. They should honestly ask if they can buy the rights to him and just put him on South Park instead. Just to fuck with everyone. Because fuck him.
Fucking God. Same art style though.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
He cannot be in the fucking South Park art style.
Exactly. That would be freaking great. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the Q&A.
Q&A time.
All right, Hatman.
We got nothing from Twitter. So.
We have nothing from Twitter. Now, I thought we had one from Discord from Darth Bobcat says, what's something video game, movie, etc. that you hate that other people whose taste you respect seem to really like, and why do you think that is? Oh,
most people like Kingdom Hearts, and I can't stand Kingdom Hearts.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that a lot of people who I know really enjoy that I can't stand.
Movies. I'm trying to think of movies though.
Like there's like people's taste in YouTubers I don't understand. Yeah. But that's different.
That's easy. That's easy mode.
Yeah. You know, one game that I really enjoyed back when it came out that a lot of my peers at Blistered Thumbs didn't like was the 2010 Alien vs. Predator. I thought that was a really fun game. Shallow, but fun.
We like Splatterhouse, too.
Should I get it? I don't know if people have seen it.
I think they have, but you haven't shown it in a long time.
It's Halloween, so I'll be back in a second.
Some movies. I'm trying to think. Like, I guess for me, it's like I really enjoyed The Force Awakens. And there's a lot of people that I really respect that absolutely hated the shit.
So the story behind this thing is I was given this after from a development team that a week later ended up going under. God, there are spiderwebs on this thing. I haven't cleaned it in a while.
What's Halloween, so?
But I was given this by the development team the dev team, not Bandai Namco. After I had done a review of the Last Generation Splatterhouse game and gave it a 7 out of 10. The reason I was given this was I was one of the few reviewers who finished the game, first and foremost. It was rather obvious a lot of the others didn't, and was very honest about it and then took its positives into account. The Terror Mask. And this has been one of my favorite video game collectibles ever. I love this thing. I really do. I love the articulate. I just love the design. What the... Whoa! 420 Gunny, was that supposed to be $10? That's one more zero than I was expecting. What?
Yeah, what?
to buy and review books 2 through 5 of Y the Last Man. Happy you guys enjoyed the first one.
I've already done it, so it's all on you.
We will be doing apparently a series of retro reviews going book by book then, for sure.
That's all on you.
Yeah,
I've done them.
I'm looking forward to it then. Thank you, man. I'll definitely pick those up tonight. So, but anyway, let's so this one this is like one of my favorite pieces of like video game memorabilia I have. Just because of like this, what it represents to me is what a critic should be. Is a person who drinks water for what it is. Who takes in something for what it is, not about what everybody else thinks it's supposed to be. So, I love this thing. All right, what do we got question?
Hold on. Let me address something. Hardboiled Entertainment says, I even enjoyed The Last Jedi, far superior to that disgusting idiot plot, Revenge of the Sith. Okay, listen here, you.
Okay, let's start with one thing. Let's get one thing out of the way with Revenge of the Sith. If Hayden Christensen was not the one playing Anakin Skywalker, most of you would not have complained about that movie.
Nope, I disagree. Had there been a different script writer, I think people would have enjoyed that more. I think Hayden Christensen was fine. He just had a lousy fucking script. On top of that, coming off of Attack of the Clones, which was the absolute worst possible way to tell a fucking love story. And George Lucas even admits he doesn't know how to tell a love story.
Yeah.
No. Revenge of the Sith is basically Julius fucking Caesar.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Yeah. So
like the outline of the plot is really good for that movie. It is the perfect way for the Republic to fall. It really is. It was like I said, I just didn't like Hayden Christensen. I don't think that he could have pulled that off because I think that he's very limited as an actor. But everybody else around him did a perfectly fine job, or even a great job. And Ewan McGregor's great in that movie.
Oh, absolutely, he is. But no, I still say the problem is the fucking script. I mean, you have such cheap and cheesy lines like fucking Obi-Wan talking about, I saw a hologram of him killing younglings like that. Come on, like there has to be some different way to express something like that.
Imagine if who's a really I'm trying to think. Imagine if like the guy who wrote the dialogue for Daredevil or something along those lines wrote the dialogue for Attack of the Clones. Not Attack of the Clones, but Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
How they would have formulated the conversation about the fact that he saw Anakin killing children, which is how I would have put it.
Or even like that final confrontation, like the conversation before Anakin and Obi-Wan start fucking fighting each other. Like that's supposed to be a tense moment, but you didn't really get that. Like it's the same problem that all the prequels had. It was George Lucas and George Lucas alone. He did not have anyone to rein him in. Gary Kurtz was not there to rein him in. Rick McCallum was a yes man, and as a result, you get weaker movies. And also, Brainbox, fuck you, I love Yub Nub.
That is why you fail.
Yub-Nub. Fuck you.
But seriously, like I could only imagine if who was it who directed Empire?
Irvin Kershner.
If Irvin Kershner had directed Attack of the Clones, God damn it, the last Revenge of the Sith, that would have that movie would have been 10 times better immediately because Irvin's a better director than George is.
Yep. I'm your Pepper. Yes, I do think George Lucas gets too much hate, but I do think he's one of those guys that needs.
He's a phenomenal ideas guy.
Yeah, he needs editors. He needs people to hone his ideas. That's why the first Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back were as good as they were, because Gary Kurtz was there to rein him in. And really, the only reason why the first Star Wars was as good as it was because Marshall Lucas was a phenomenal fucking editor.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been a goddamn train wreck.
Pretty much. Have we played Mega Man 11? If so, what are our thoughts on it? I have not played it yet, but it looks great.
No, I have not played it yet either. I really want to. I went back and played Mega Man 2 a couple weeks ago, and it still holds up, of course. It's Mega Man 2.
It's a classic.
Yeah.
Are we long overdue for a Daredevil Nightcrawler team-up miniseries? I certainly wouldn't be against it.
It'd be interesting to say the least.
I really wish we could start having the X-Men branch out again into different areas.
Yeah.
But Nightcrawler's always been one of my favorite X-Men, and I never really feel like he's really understood.
Yeah.
I'm Your Pepper says, since we mentioned Channel Awesome, what are my thoughts on Nostalgia Critic trying to make a comeback? I don't really care.
I don't either. As far as I'm concerned, he's done for.
I mean, there's a possibility he could, regain his status as a big name YouTuber. I don't know what his sub count's at. I don't know what his view count is at because I don't care about him anymore. And I'm honestly, genuinely, I really don't. I hate everything that he has done in regards to business stuff over the years, and I think that he really had no business running a business, or his brother, and the fact that they just brought in their friends to help them do things as time went on and just kept their friends around instead of saying, what are we really doing here? Do we even know what we're doing? And gotten outside help, that reeks of ego to me. So, yeah. Do we guys think that pulp writing will make a comeback? I don't know about the writing style, but definitely the style of story, or like the type of stories of like high fantasy and things like that. I mean, my artist for Project Lazarus, Bob Stone, he's writing a sort of pulpy style comic book called Half Mortal. That I don't remember if he's starting the Kickstarter for it this year or next year. But yeah, like I do think it'll happen. And like I said, I've got my own books that I think will probably end up having almost kind of a pulpy feel to them. The First Servant, I've done a little more conceptual shit on, and 4 Days, 3 Nights as well will probably be more pulpy feeling, I would think. But that's because it's like, the Crusade. One of them set right after the Crusades. One of them is set after the campaigns of Vlad Tepes and Alexander Corvinus. So, and yeah, Sin City is a good example of that sort of style of writing.
Almighty Lolly wants to know if we're excited to see Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes,
I sure as fuck am.
Oh,
yeah,
dude,
absolutely.
I'm a huge Queen fan.
Oh yeah, me too.
Like,
Love that shit.
They're the greatest rock and roll band ever.
I would have to agree. I think, yeah.
Beatles, whatever. No.
Beatles is probably the most influential, but I still say Queen's the fucking best.
Is the best. Yeah, talent-wise, the best. The best 4 men who have ever been in a musical group together. Like,
God bless Freddie Mercury.
He's an incredible vocalist. Incredible stage man, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, his range, though. Holy fuck.
He's literally a guy who could write anything.
Oh yeah. Oh God, absolutely. Fucking, I will never fucking forget the story of recording The Show Must Go On. How Freddie Mercury was basically just dying of AIDS at that fucking point, and they were like, oh, we gotta wait until you're feeling better to do this. And he like took a fucking shot of vodka and he goes, "Let's fucking do this, darling," and he knocked it out in one fucking take.
Yep.
Phenomenal. You cannot beat Freddie Mercury.
There's a lot of like frontmen that I really admire. James Hetfield, Rob Halford, and so like, and many others. They still don't touch Freddie, and I think they would admit that too.
Yeah.
Because I would say, probably the only vocalist I can think of who had a range comparable, at least in his the octaves he could hit, was probably Halford, but in his prime. Because Rob was incredible too. Rob's the only guy I think comes close to Freddie in his stage presence. Because Rob felt like a titan on the stage. But he was the one who really set the standard for the heavy metal frontman, more so than Ozzy did, in my opinion. Ozzy just kind of performs.
Yeah.
Like Rob is a presence.
Well, Ozzy had that shock value.
Yeah.
Basically,
He was more of a wild man. Rob Halford was a titan. He's a really tall guy too, so that helps.
Yeah.
I think he's taller than I am. I think he's like 6'4". But like just the way that he would move on the stage. But there's no Rob Halford without Freddie Mercury. There is none. I'm sorry, there just isn't. There is nobody like that. And everyone who has come back throughout heavy metal, without Freddie Mercury, they're not there. They're just not. And I say that as somebody who has a lot of, lot of love for heavy metal frontmen, but Freddie Mercury inspired them. Like, just about every major metal band I've ever, like, listened to interviews of, they all love Queen. I mean, Metallica did a great cover of Stone Cold Crazy. Probably the best cover of it I've ever heard. So, God, this is gonna be a good. I'm hoping it's a great movie. I really hope it is.
Oh, yeah. I think
it looks like they're gonna do focus on Live Aid a lot too. That concert, dude. Before we take off for the day, for those of you who are in the chat, please go ahead and start putting your overflow questions in. But before we take off, man, if you get the chance, find the Live Aid performance from Queen. It is incredible. It is one of the, like, if I could go back in time and watch a single concert, that's the one that I would go back and see.
Just how he energized that whole fucking audience. It wasn't even a song. It was just vocalizing.
Yeah. And they were right with him.
Yeah.
He had, how many people were in that crowd? Like 80,000?
Something like that. It was huge.
Yeah. All of them in the palm of his hand.
Oh, yes. Yes.
There has been no one like Freddie Mercury before or since as a performer. Nobody. Incredible guy.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. We need to take off. Again, if you haven't already, please put your questions in for the overflow. Excess Twitter questions, of course, we're going to be putting into the overflow as well. Yes. So that should come out on Wednesday-ish or something along those lines. So in the meantime, though, if you have not subscribed to this channel already, please go ahead and do so. We'll be back with the podcast on next Saturday as well. But until then, my name is Micah Curtis.
And I'm Alex Baldwin, also known as The Hatman.
And we will see you guys next week. Deus Vult.
Deus Vult.